welcome to the Saturday Morning Nerd Show. I'm your host, Marcus Blake. Joined with me, as always, is the Brewing Sailor, Mr. Brendan Smith.
Good morning, nerds.
And from the Electric Jellyfish Podcast, Mr. Chad Womack.
Good morning from the fish tank.
So, we got a lot of things to talk about today. Bringing back some old formats, reinventing it into a new format about the Saturday Morning Nerd Show. So, a little bit of nerd news out there before everybody completely goes apeshit. Yes, while Pedro Pascal would be kind of a cool Reed Richards, let's wait till that announcement is actually official and they're not in talks yet. And also realize that he's got a lot on his plate. He's got to finish up Gladiator 2, The Last of Us Season 2, now that the strike is over. So who knows when they're going to get to this.
I'd like to say just real quick, I love Ridley Scott, but Gladiator 2 has to be in the top 5 of movies all times that we never needed.
Yeah, I literally...
Right up there, and you know what the other 4 are?
Yeah.
Avatars 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Wow. God. Oh, James Cameron.
I'm never going to let that go. Okay. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the critic who said this, but was complaining about, James Cameron literally making the same movie. He's been literally making the same movie over and over for the past 20 years. Like, and
I think my favorite.
Movie,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
And that movie that he keeps trying to remake was already made in 1990 with Kevin Costner and Dances with Wolves. But
yeah. I love the describe a movie plot badly, and it's rich woman takes advantage of poor young man sexually and then leaves him to die.
Wow. Okay.
And everybody, the best part about that is everybody knows what movie I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, can't beat Killers of the Flower Moon, a 3.5-hour movie that we didn't really need to explain how white men took advantage of Native Americans and screwed them over for their oil rights. First we take their land, now we take their oil rights. I mean,
here's the best part about that, though. It's white people preaching to other white people about how terrible we are for taking the Native American oil rights. But do they make the Native American the main character of the story? No. He makes Leo DiCaprio the main character.
Yeah.
Irony.
Who will probably win an award.
Oh, I'm sure he will. And dump his girlfriend for someone younger right beforehand.
Oh my gosh.
He's got to have a new 22-year-old for award season.
No. Once you hit 26, you're no longer officially with.
Well, that's right. He's got to downgrade to the 22-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. Keep her around for a few years.
He doesn't have relationships. He leases them.
Here's what I absolutely love is all this controversy, Killers of the Flower Moon, especially the fucking editor, no, there shouldn't be an intermission in the middle. It's ruining the art of the movie and blah, 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 blah. And, Marvel movies are not real movies, according to Scorsese. And I'm like, well, The Joker isn't a real movie. It's just a remake of your movie called Taxi Driver, but with a DC character. So I'm like,
every time somebody praises that, I just bite my tongue because they don't want to hear the truth anyway.
Yeah. Look, I love Scorsese, but you haven't really had an original idea since, well, what? Goodfellas? And even that is kind of a quasi ripoff of The Godfather.
That's pretty derivative.
Yeah. I mean, The Departed, it's so original. Yes, it was called Internal Affairs originally, but sure.
Yeah, right. Good old Infernal Affairs from Hong Kong.
Yeah, but anyway, we'll see what pans out during award season as us critics are starting to get our DVDs in that. Which, by the way, I want to point this out. Thank you, Amazon, for giving me access to a digital screener of one of your movies that are already on Amazon Prime. I'm kidding. I get these emails from Amazon. Here's where you have to log in for your consideration. I'm like, did the movie change from Amazon Prime to this subfolder?
Is it downgraded from 4K to 1080p? Or
Breaking news, Marcus. The Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not going back and reviewing movies. I thought Air was a great movie and better than I thought it was going to be this past year. But am I going to waste the time of putting your little DVD disc in the DVD player or downloading another app on Roku when Amazon Prime is right there? No. So. But anyway, that's what's going on. And yes, the writers and actors strikes are officially over. So everybody is back to work, which is a good thing because there's been a lot of delays and all these fall TV shows that should have started by now. They got to get into production. So hopefully we can get them in the spring. One quick thing. I can't wait until about a month when we can finally officially talk about Reacher Season 2. It's going to be a long month.
I'm looking forward to it.
Speaking of things that are coming out, tomorrow, Monarch, The Legacy of Monsters, an Apple TV show, picks back up after all of the Godzilla movies. Definitely check it out. It's very good. And I think the best part is Kurt Russell playing the older version of his son's character, played by Wyatt Russell, who plays the Colonel in the flashback scenes. So definitely worth checking out. What else is going on? Chad, we had a death this week. Let you go into that.
one Mr. Robert Castell, and I know that name may not mean a whole lot to you on the surface, but if you're a fan of movie poster art, which I know most of us nerds are, all you gotta do is look behind Marcus and see his gallery, and see several works that were inspired by the work of one Drew Struzan, because he was like the go-to guy for pretty much anything that came out of Lucasfilm. But in the early days, before Drew started drawing for Lucas, we had a guy that had worked with Spielberg on a little fish story that is represented here. Yes, that's Castell's artwork on the book cover of Jaws, on the one sheet of Jaws, and he did what is commonly referred to as the Gone with the Wind style Empire Strikes Back poster.
Right.
Where Han's cradling Leia, in the romantic kiss pose and stuff. So Castell was quite an iconic character when it came to poster art, and he had a ton of influence on people that followed him, and I'm sure that Struzan would kind of consider himself among them. But huge loss. It was when I saw it, I think it was yesterday whenever I read it, and I was like, oh man, that hurt. That one stings.
Yeah. Well,
a true giant of the industry.
Yeah, and anybody who's ever been in my office, you automatically know that sits behind the computer screen is a poster of Jaws, one of my all-time favorite movies. And it's just so incredibly iconic for being 50 years old. I mean, demonstrating exactly all you need to know. It's simple, and it's terrifying. I mean, just the poster alone makes you not want to go in the water. So,
but the odd thing is, the ironic thing is, that's not a great white shark.
I know.
It's a mako.
Well,
it's the shark from Deep Blue Sea, sadly, but
hey,
that's what he had access to when he went to the believe it was the New York Museum of Natural History. They were taking the sharks down to clean them. That were like in part of a hanging display, and he just focused on this one mako shark and said, "Great image." Didn't really do his homework and realized that it wasn't a great white shark he was taking a picture of.
Hey, they do enough explanation of the great white sharks in the movie that the poster is whatever.
But Roger's like, I don't give a shit. It's a good looking shark. That's what I'm going to focus on.
Well, man, I tell you what, it's hard to believe that we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of that movie.
Quickly.
Definitely one that we're going to say, Brendan, when we went to go see it at the Inwood Theater, that midnight movie, was that the first time you saw it on the big screen?
Yeah, it's first time on the big screen. I mean, I'd seen it obviously dozens of times on TV, but yeah.
That was my first time too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great to be able to see it on the big screen.
Yeah. Well, on top of that, to be able to sit, who was sitting behind us and in front of us, all these young teenage girls who had never seen the movie and kept screaming throughout it, just to add to the
ambiance
of the movie, right?
That, and we're in the Inwood, so everything's big, comfortable couches, and you know, we're sitting there drinking our flasks, and you know, when they get to the boat scene, we're singing "Show Me the Way to Go Home" along with the movie. Like, we're all doing this thing along, and yeah, it was a great time. It was a great evening.
Yeah,
that's awesome that's where you guys saw it, because that's where I saw it in 1975, and it's
really
run. Yes.
So we've all officially, our first time seeing it on the big screen was
in
the same theater. I just saw it in 1975.
Nice. And we saw it in, what was it? I guess 2015. I guess it was. I think it was the 40th anniversary, wasn't it?
Wow. Was it or the year before? It was. I don't know. The years blurred together.
Yeah, it's been a while, but not that long.
Yeah.
My most vivid memory about that was that I was staying with my aunt and uncle that lived over off of Ferguson Road. I know for those of you that are watching this that aren't local, this means nothing to you, but they had a waterbed that they were wanting me to sleep on. Not happening after. Nope. Couch. Yes, couch.
There's no sharks in the waterbed. Are you sure?
I didn't care. So another quick story about that area of town. Aaron's grandparents, God rest their souls, lived off of Ferguson Road, and we go driving over there, and when GPS first started, for those who don't live in Dallas, there is a street called Gus Thomason Drive, and GPS could not pronounce it, so it comes out Gus Thomason Drive. And the first time I heard that, I almost crashed my car because I was not prepared for Gus Thomason Drive.
Which turns into Gross when you go into Mesquite, and I'm sure they call it gross on the Jeep.
Yeah, then Coit is Coit.
Coit.
Wow, funny. All right. This week's Side of the Apocalypse, we actually have two things. The first one we're going to, excuse me, we're going to call out the Video Game Awards and your nominations and how you're always constantly just fucking full of shit. I'm sorry, you are. You never, as far as I'm concerned, you never really get it right. I mean,
don't get words, Marcus. How do you really feel about it?
Well, no, I mean, the only time they actually do is when, like, literally it's been such a bad year that
there's only one game that was worth
right. That's obvious.
Yeah.
But even then,
yeah, I know. But this year, out of all the stuff that's come out, and it's been a pretty good year, really, Hogwarts Legacy doesn't even get a nomination when it has outsold most of the games on your list.
And like, it didn't even need I mean, I still think it was worthy of a Game of the Year nomination, though I don't think it was worthy to win the award. I still think it was worth the discussion. But like, for RPG or adventure Game of the Year or something like that, some other smaller category definitely deserved. There were some characters in there that I thought might have gotten it for voice acting. But yeah, nothing, not a single one. And I mean, look, Baldur's Gate 3 is hopefully going to sweep the awards, but it's fan voted on, so I don't know.
Right.
The Nintendo fanboys might show up in mass, and Zelda might get it, but then again, they might be split between Zelda and Mario. So,
but this is my point. If you're honestly so afraid of the fucking controversy, again, we've got to get past this crap. You can still enjoy something in that universe that she didn't have anything to do with. You can still like Harry Potter and call her out for being batshit crazy and discriminatory. Okay? Just because she created it and turned out to be crazy doesn't mean everything is bad. And I think people are holding on to this controversy like we've got to, cancel everything. Okay?
Right.
And I got reminded this week too about, like, when we're talking about people's past and shit like that. Yeah, the founders of Adidas. Yeah, I mean, they did live in Nazi Germany, and some of them, did have to deal with the Hitler Youth and all that. Doesn't mean they were Nazis after the war. But I mean, if we're really going to complain about a product because of someone's past and having discriminatory reviews, are we all going to completely
Well,
ban Adidas?
the best example of that was when Alyssa Milano took to Twitter, a company owned by Elon Musk, to say what a Nazi Elon Musk was, and that she was getting rid of her Tesla because she no longer wanted to support Elon Musk, even though she was still on Twitter supporting Elon Musk. And she was going to instead buy an electric Volkswagen.
Yeah.
To protest him being a Nazi. Alyssa, sweetheart.
Somebody want to tell?
Yeah.
The Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Think about that. Think about when they started. Think about who started them.
Really good airplane engines. Far. I'm like, wow. Get over yourself. I mean,
but it's just like people, and think about it. And who's got to be laughing all the way to the bank is got to be what's her face herself, who wrote Harry Potter, because when Harry Potter first got out, if you'll remember, she was heavily, heavily protested by the right.
Yeah,
because all the Christians, the conservative Christians, thought that this was, witchcraft and devilry, and it's going to corrupt all our children. And I had to tell my father at the time, I was like, Dad, I read a book just to see what it's about. You know how you're always pissed off how they say Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas? He goes, yeah. He goes, well, it's Britain, so they say Happy Christmas, but they still say Happy Christmas. Right. So I don't think they're trying to unseat Christianity here. And then my father was like, oh, okay. But most of the right were going after Harry Potter. Now, 10 years later, it's all the left that's going after Harry Potter. Yeah. So I think this is hilarious. We've come full circle into, our world has just gone absolute batshit stupid.
Well, I want gamers to stop feeling ashamed that they're playing this game. Okay. I mean, we were having discussions about it at AllCon earlier this year, when the game would come out. And it was like, we can't really say that we're playing this game because we have a public image, and it's like, we're okay with it. It's like, no, you can hate her views, but still love the world of Harry Potter and say it's no longer hers. Okay.
You know what? I'm not even going to address that. I'm just going to say, yep, I'm playing it. If you don't like it, that's fine. That's your right to not like that. It's my right not to give a shit.
Yeah. But I don't, but an award show that's supposed to nominate and look at the best games of the year, especially and take into account the sales, you guys are a bunch of pussies. I'm sorry. You're a bunch of fucking pussies.
Well, and now, love them or hate them, there's very few people out there like Dana White who, when he put up a political post on his personal Facebook page, it wasn't on the UFC page, it wasn't anything to do with UFC, but on his personal Facebook page, a major sponsor called him up, said, you have to take that down. And he said, you can go fuck yourself. And he said, that's my personal page. I have freedom of speech. If you don't like it, you can feel free to take your money elsewhere, but I'll just go get a sponsorship from your competitor.
Yeah.
And you know what they did? Off they fucked.
Yeah. So
as Billy Connolly would say.
I will say two more things about this. A, don't worry if you're that concerned about the video game awards and everything. Fuck off. Just don't worry about what they do. Go play the game if you're interested. I've met more people who are not even really Harry Potter fans who have picked up this game and love it, and I think have kind of become Harry Potter fans because of it. Two, this is one of the great things about that nerd show. We don't care about the video game awards. We're going to make our top 10 list. We're going to vote on what we feel like is the best game. Damn the controversy. And some people may agree that the game isn't worth playing, but we can all agree to disagree and still be friends and still, say whatever. Some like this other game, some like another game. That's the beauty of it. But it's really a shame because it does deserve a lot of accolades for how good it is and what they did with it. And considering it got released with, was really not that buggy when it first got released. And they didn't have to spend 3 years with numerous patches to basically rebuild an entire new game just to make it awesome.
I hear Cyberpunk's awesome now, but it released in 2020, and here we are 3 years later. That's finally awesome. Okay, great. I'm going to play it because I wanted to play it when it was in development, and I was pissed off that it launched in such a shit state. But it shouldn't have taken 3 years to get here.
Yeah, again. So, but whatever. It will definitely be in our top 10 list because we're not going to shy away from controversy at that nerd show. Some people won't vote on it, some will, and we'll see how it lands overall with games this year.
Won't be my number one, but it'll.
We all know what your number one is. Trust me. I have told
it'll be somewhere between 4 and 7. Look, I've got to really sit down and think about that.
Chloe and I were at the Hunger Games prequel screening this week, and she was asking.
I heard that was a chore.
No. I'm going to get to it. But we were talking about games because she's the one that really has dived into the Zelda game, and she was asking about Baldur's Gate, and I'm like, imagine the most cynical person you know giving it a perfect 10. Does that tell you anything you need to know that you should probably play this game? She was like, Brendan gave it a perfect 10? Like, yes. So.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Exactly.
Well timed, Chad. Well timed. Right.
You're welcome. I'm here to help.
So it might be a good game. I'm just saying. Anyway. The other this week's Sign of the Apocalypse, Taika Waititi. Brendan, take it away.
Taika Waititi just came out and said, my Star Wars movie is going to piss people off. Yes, Taika, because that's what Disney Lucasfilm and Star Wars is going for right now. They can't get enough people to watch Ahsoka and, what was the other one? Andor and Mando Season 3. But they want you to come out and pull Last Jedi 2.0 and The Rise of Skywalker 2.0 and piss off what's left of their fan base. That's what they hired you to do.
What?
Exactly. Yeah. Now, somebody was like, hey, is this how you sell tickets these days? And it made me think, I'm like, no, it's not how you say it. Obviously, it's not how you say it. So there has to be another reason behind it, right? Like, I firmly believe that he's a narcissistic prat. And that his, after Jojo Rabbit, his ego just got kicked into Spinal Tap overdrive. Mm-hmm. But I think he's a jackass, but I don't think he's an idiot. And there has to be an ulterior motive to say this, right? And so let's take a look real quick at the post episode 9 track record for Disney Lucasfilm. Would you believe that there have been 18 announced or in development Star Wars projects, theatrical releases supposedly, that have yet to get into
any
production? Yeah. Not the theaters, production. Okay. And honestly, after Thunder, I really think that his star took a hit. And if you'll look at the history of some of these films, when directorial stars take a little bit of a loss of shine to their star, they lose their Star Wars project. All you have to do is look at Rian Johnson. He lost a trilogy. And folks, that's happening. David Weiss and Benioff from Game of Thrones. Season 8 happened. Mysteriously, their trilogy went bye-bye.
Yeah.
An Obi-Wan film got butchered into a Disney Plus show. A Boba Fett film butchered into a Disney Plus show. Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie. Wonder Woman 84. What happened?
Yep.
So you see a pattern forming here.
Damn good point, man.
Kevin Feige was supposed to have a Star Wars movie. Remember that? Hey, Phase 4 and 5, how you doing? Oops, bye-bye Star Wars movie. Like, do you see the pattern here?
Yeah.
Halloween Returns director David Gordon Green was supposed to get a Star Wars movie. Each one of those Halloween movies did less and less money. Bye-bye Star Wars movie.
Yeah, but you know what? See, I don't think that one's fair because they made the money they were going to make anyway.
I agree, but this is still the reality of Lucasfilm. So this is what happens. And I think this is all that goes into it. See, what happens is Kathy needs to keep the board of Disney off her back. Okay, so she grabs popular director du jour, attaches her to a project or them to a project, and says, look, we've got this coming out. Now, it doesn't even have to ever come out. In fact, it usually doesn't. But what it does is it buys her time. Okay, now, what's currently in development for Star Wars? Taika Waititi's movie, but I'm pretty sure that's dead. James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi movie. Oops, what did he just do? Indy 5 bomb. Bye bye Star Wars movie. The pattern continues. The Rey movie, the new Jedi Order movie from Rey, is the only one I actually think is going to get made because Disney themselves want to see. They've sunk so much money into the sequel trilogy and the characters, and they're so heavily integrated to the parks that I think they want to see if it can be salvaged. Right. So I think that will happen. The Mandoverse film, I'm not even sure that's going to happen because, well, Mando season 3 and Ahsoka didn't do so hot in the ratings.
Okay, but let's talk about Taika for just a second.
I'm just getting to my point. Let me finish up. But Taika's movie, I think the reason why he said this is because he wants to do it, but he knows the score. And I think he did it to put it out there, to put it back into the consciousness, back into the zeitgeist, get the Google search numbers up about it so that he can hopefully save the project and get back into it. Now, whether it's going to be a good Star Wars movie or not, whether he actually pisses people off or not, I think the movie as it currently sits is dead and he's trying to revive it by any means necessary.
Well,
that's my take.
Okay, I will say two things about him. First, if you're turning into your character from Free Guy, that's bad.
Yeah.
You were funny, and that's a great movie, and I definitely want to see a sequel. But you don't have to live that character in real life. Two, stay in your fucking lane of what you are good at. Even if you're not a fan of his comedy, he has made heartwarming and adorable movies and great dark comedies, from What We Do in the Shadows, The Hunt for the Wilder People, Jojo Rabbit, Love or Hate It, was unique and stuff. You're good at what you do. Stick with it. Okay. And I will segue into reviews with this. Next Gold Wins is out. It is a Ted Lasso-esque soccer movie based off a real life story about America Samoa. Even though he kind of plays a crazy preacher, whatever in it, it's a lovable movie. And Michael Fassbender is hilarious in it. Okay. This is what you're good at. You don't need to do a Star Wars movie. You don't need to be a part of it or anything, and stuff like that. I mean, if you want to direct an episode of some series or whatever, like Robert Rodriguez, great. But is Robert Rodriguez going to actually do a Star Wars movie in his style of filmmaking? Probably not. But doing an episode within the Mando universe that's kind of in his style that works, sure. Okay. I just, if you're just saying bullshit to say bullshit, fine. But we're going to call you out for it. And
speaking of Robert Rodriguez and Star Wars, it just reminded me how grateful. It just reminded me how grateful I am that Quentin Tarantino never got to make a Star Trek movie.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Well, one thing that I think is actually worth noting here, though, is that he said it's going to piss people off. He didn't really get too specific as to which people. Who's he talking about? Is it just a broad general everybody, or is it the establishment at Lucas? I mean, who's he talking about?
At this point, I feel like there's 3 or 4 different divisions of Star Wars fans that are always constantly pissed off about something, and it's just like you can't make them all happy.
The sad thing is, it's actually moving beyond anger. I see it like watching the ratings for the Disney Plus shows and looking at just the traffic online. It's moved past anger. We're at the stages of grief where we've moved into acceptance and apathy. And people just don't care anymore. And by the way, Marvel's real close to that too.
Which is why we're talking about it today.
Yeah,
yep.
Sure, that's what we're up to.
When you've gone through all those stages, then you get comedy, because South Park is here to finally call everything out and tell you the truth. And yes, I did probably watch the Panda Universe, and wow.
Let me tell you, I would love to have been a fly on the wall in Lucasfilm in the Presidio in San Francisco when the morning after that hit. Whoa.
Well, we didn't talk about it in the last podcast, but I've watched it twice now, and just it is honestly true. If we know anything about Kathleen Kennedy, yes, you will throw a woman in it and make her gay.
I forget lame.
Yeah. I mean, I would not surprise me that that will be the Ray movie. She finds a woman and they adopt a child and blah blah blah, and this is it's totally fitting within that genre. She can't, even though the original plan was for her to get with Poe, but
so here's my idea for
Pandaverse relationships anymore with Kathleen Kennedy.
Here's my idea for Pandaverse 2. They have to defeat Cartman and the real Kathleen Kennedy have to defeat the evil Kathleen Kennedy Cartman, okay, who has become like the Sauron, and they have to encourage Kevin Feige to throw the Panderstone back into Mount Doom, and he turns around and does the Isildur no, and and then J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay from the Rings of Power turn into the Nazgul and help him get away.
Jesus. And the sad thing is that's probably that would actually be better than anything on Disney Plus. Yeah.
Trey Parker, Matt Stone, you can have that one. I don't even need any.
Oh my God. Yeah.
If you want to write me a check, cool.
When you've hit South Park's radar and they have called you out in comedy, you have fucked up. You have screwed up. But
because now it's not just a thing on Twitter, right? It's not just the hardcore fans, whether you're a hardcore sequel trilogy fan or a hardcore Lucas fan. It's not just that hardcore group anymore. Now this is mainstream. Now the normies are like, oh, what's going on? Why are they making fun of Lucasfilm? What is all this things that's happening? I thought the sequel trilogy was so successful. So now it's hit the zeitgeist of the mainstream, and people are like, what's going on with Disney? And then they turn on the TV and they see there's a proxy fight for board seats at Disney, and so
when I finally figured out that Facebook, after it had changed all of our lives, really wasn't a good thing, when they did the Facebook episode that it was like the Tron grid and you would get sucked into Facebook. Still one of my all-time favorite episodes, and literally fucking, very true. So here we are. All right. Quick movie reviews. Like I said, Next Goal Wins. It is definitely worth seeing. It is Taika Waititi staying in his lane and making movies that he should make, not Star Wars movies. Michael Fassbender did not act for the last few years, kind of took the post-pandemic off. And within a week of each other, had 2 movies come out. Next Goal Wins. He was great. And The Killer, which is on Netflix, and you should definitely check that out. So the big movie this week is the Hunger Games prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. If you are a fan of the Hunger Games, yes, you're going to like this movie. I think this movie actually makes the Hunger Games movies better. I didn't actually watch the last Hunger Games movie. And the main reason I didn't is at the time we had, she was still a teenager who was writing for us, who wanted to cover all these movies. So we sent her, and she literally tore it apart. She was like an angry teenage girl, just bullet points of why this movie was bad. And I'm like,
it was a great read, though.
Yeah, it really
I think was. I got more enjoyment out of that than I did the movie. It was fantastic.
So Becca, wherever you are, it's still one of the funniest reviews we've ever had. So I went back and finally watched it, and I'm like, yeah, she wasn't wrong. And all you were doing is setting up a story of which dictator will you choose?
Bless you.
This, I get why you're trying to humanize Cornelius Snow. How did he start out, post the rebellion in this, totalitarian world, and what's his part in the beginning of the games, and blah, blah, blah. Yes, performances were really good, mostly by Peter Dinklage and Viola Davis. But, it was also a little bit predictable. And I don't know if we necessarily needed a prequel, because I think the one line he has in the Hunger Games movies, the things that we love the most are the things that destroy us the most. So it's like, we know you didn't start out bad. There was something that happened early in your life that was tragic that led you to being a asshole dictator and being a part of the system. But here we are. And Rachel Ziegler, who plays the young tribute that he falls in love with and helps save. I mean, if you don't need to read the book to know really what's going to happen, especially as a prequel. I mean, you really go into the movie because you get this kind of quasi retro of like the early Hunger Games, all in a gladiator type arena. And you really watch the movie for the performances. And the other shout out I got to give is to Jason Schwartzman, who plays the TV commentator, who his little deadpan comments about everything were great. But, that's it. I don't. All I'm saying is if you're a fan of the Hunger Games, like you really love these movies, yes, go see it in the theater. Other than that, if you're just not a fan, wait till it's free on streaming service if you want to watch it, just because it's got some great performances. But, there's nothing new there. I mean, we already knew. I was laughing with Chloe, James, her and I, we did go see the screening and we were kind of laughing. There was an article about things that didn't make sense in the Hunger Games. And two of my favorites, which really got pointed out in the prequel. The first one was if District 12 is the coal mine district, but the capital is so technologically advanced, why do they still need to mine coal? What's the purpose? And my personal favorite was, so again, still technically advanced. And even though in the rebellion, District 13 splits off and tries to hide, seriously, nobody figured out that they were building up weapons and, remaking a nuclear silo into a home base to start another rebellion over the course of 75 years. Seriously, nobody decided to check on them. Anyway. Personally, as kind of an in-between fan of the Hunger Games movies, I gave the movie a 7 because as a prequel, it tells an interesting story about this character that you hate, but excuse me, it humanizes them just a little bit. All right, give me just a minute, guys.
I'm reading some of the comments from the Rotten Tomatoes. Joey Morona of the Cleveland Plain Dealer. Like the Hunger Games themselves, this film isn't so much about entertainment as it is an exercise in survival.
Oh, Jesus. That's high praise.
Well, yeah, like 2.5 hours, and it felt like 2.5 hours.
One guy said he did about an hour and 45 minutes and he wanted to beat himself to death with his keeper. Was he oh God, I can't think of the name. Oh my Lord. Souvenir cup. Sorry. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word souvenir to save my life.
Well, I mean, and they're not wrong. I mean, like I said, it's not a great movie. It's okay if you're a fan. I mean, for me, I enjoyed the performances. Peter Dinklage is great in anything he does, and as kind of the
except for being an advocate for other small actors.
Well,
curiously, while the film lectures you about audiences craving emotional connections to their violence, it seemingly forgets to connect you to their characters or violence. That was Ed Moreno of Flickering Myth. Oh.
Anyway, if you want my recommendation whether you should shell out a lot of money for movie tickets, no, it's a good matinee, or literally just wait about a month to where you could rent it online. That's about it. that is kind of what's coming out. Real quick before we jump into the main topic, still some of the best TV out there. Bosch, whether it's Bosch or Bosch Legacy.
And it just got renewed for season 3.
Yeah, that was coming. I mean, how do you kill that?
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, I'm just more and more interested in Maddie as a police officer than anything else.
Yeah.
So, season literally started off great in the first 3 episodes with them having to go find her. And then
I'll be interested to see if they actually stretch out the like next season, if they actually stretch out the election throughout the whole season, or if we're just going to jump ahead and Honey's going to be the DA.
Yeah. So if there is one sure true villain of this season, the fucking FBI. So, but overall, I mean, it's typical Bosch, great performances. I'm glad that they had a little cameo with Lance Reddick, his last kind of bidding farewell to his Bosch character before he passed away. I easily give it an 8. I mean, I flew through those 10 episodes easily and just.
I believe I concurred with you on that. I think I gave it an 8 also in our chat.
I think the best story really was Maddie, being kidnapped. And dude, that episode when they're finding her in the desert.
Yeah.
She is, oh my God.
She saves herself too. Yeah, Bosch saves her, but like she's not a total damsel in distress, but she's not, it's not some of these really weak stories that have been out lately where it's the girl who's the key to everything, where the 100-pound girl, throws the 200-pound guy through a wall. And then arrests him single-handedly. It's like, no, she got caught. She got, surprised, and the predictable outcome happened, but then she kept her head and was able to give them enough information to figure out.
I don't need every story to be G.I. Jane here. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not saying anything against that movie. I like the movie.
I just hope the very ending's a red herring. Like, I really hope Bosch didn't do that. And I hope Preston Borders is just calling to start shit to make Bosch's life difficult.
Well,
I won't say with what, because I want everybody to see it. But
the only little spoiler I have is the footage inside the coffin was great, and even I was clenching on the couch with the scorpion. I was like, "Fuck me."
Yeah, I don't like scorpions.
Yeah. So, if you're a fan of Bosch, you should definitely check this season out. That show never disappoints. On top of everything else that's out there. All right, we're going to get to the topic at hand. Is Marvel dead? Is it over for Marvel? I mean, is there any way to make a comeback? I mean, yes, we know we're getting a Deadpool 3 movie, but with all the shit that we've gotten since 2019, since the Infinity War movies, between the series, between these movies, this latest disaster, and yes, the Marvels is officially the lowest rated Marvel movie since they started coming back in 2008.
Not only that, but it's the lowest earning movie since Hulk in 2008, and that's unadjusted for inflation.
That's what I meant. I mean,
if you take inflation into account, it's lost half of the audience from Hulk, and I mean that's just insane.
Yeah. So why should we care anymore? I mean, this movie wasn't even that good. I get why you had to have a Captain Marvel origin story and attach her story to the Infinity War movies. And I'm not saying I necessarily hate her character personally. I like the Captain Marvel movie for what it is, but I didn't need this movie. Did you?
I didn't. Nobody asked for it, and more importantly, there's one thing from the Captain Marvel movie that really pisses me off, and that's how Fury lost his eye, because it totally retcons what they had previously said in other movies, and there's supposed to be a really cool story about him, how he loses his eye, and he loses it to a kitty cat. I mean, come on. I don't care if it's a flirkin. I'll flirk off. Who cares? They took one of the coolest characters in Marvel and without any powers, by the way. He's just a badass.
Yeah.
And they just nerfed him. He's supposed to be a spy. He's supposed to be a former soldier, and they turn him into just some desk jockey who happened to be in the right place at the right time to get move. I mean, that's just crap. So I had a big problem with Captain Marvel for how they did Nick Fury dirty, but and by the way, I had a huge problem with how they do Nick Fury dirty in Secret Invasion. Oh my god, that was awful.
Yeah,
my only
definitely.
That is the worst fucking writing in the world. And what's worse about that is the director didn't even know his own freaking product, because he's like, well, it was really good because at the end, he gets to have this moment where he reconciles with the villain. No, he didn't. That wasn't him. That was Khaleesi in his form. So no, there was no reconciliation because he was not in the fucking room. You idiot. You wrote this. Why don't you know it? So yeah, so that just tells you the type of lunacy going on at Marvel.
You're a Disney director doesn't mean you have to pay attention to the lore. Come on, we all know the rules here.
Also, just because you're a Disney director does not mean you're a fucking auteur. Get over yourself. Here's my thing. Obviously, they know they've got a course correct at this point because the money's through the toilet. The ratings on D+ are not good. Loki's lost half its audience from season 1 to season 2. It can't even break into the top 10 overall streaming. It's number 5 on top 10 originals, but it can't break into the top 10 overall streaming. It's about 50 million watch minutes short. So it's probably somewhere around 12 or 13th, but that's a problem. They were halfway through filming Daredevil and they had to scrap it because it was so bad. And Blade, so they're going to start all over. They're bringing in new people. Blade was so bad that the actor almost walked away because at one point, first of all, we've gone through 2 directors. We're on the 3rd director for Blade, and we're on the 6th script writer for Blade.
Right.
And at one point, the script had morphed into a movie where the lead was a female. Blade was the 4th lead in his own movie, and it was about feminine life lessons. And that's why Mahershala Ali threatened to quit. And so now we've got to re-scrap that and do that all over. So obviously they know they have to change. The question is, can they, and is it too late?
Okay, so here's 2 questions. First, related to Captain Marvel. Is she a good enough character to have another standalone movie? Personally, no. That character does nothing for me except what you bring, your attachment to Nick Fury, and what you brought to the Infinity Wars. And I loved her in that.
I don't think Brie Larson wants to do it, and there's not enough money to justify it.
Well, and I think the point of the Marvels movie, because you can't hold that movie by yourself, you had to bring in 2 other people and make a trio of women like your Charlie's fucking Angels in the Marvel universe.
For which, by the way, were 2 stories that, okay, one was a secondary character from a show that started strong and ended very weak, and the other one was from a Marvel show that was actually probably the best Marvel Plus, the Disney Plus show, in Miss Marvel. but nobody watched.
Yeah.
Comparatively speaking.
Well,
So
younger audiences did. I mean, she is that character that taps into the younger audiences.
right,
And I
but
get that.
but here's the problem. The audience that goes to see a movie 2 and 3 or 4 times and buys the toys and buys the t-shirts and does all that stuff, which is the 25 to 45-year-old male, didn't tune in.
Yeah.
So and by the way, this is nothing against Iman Vellani, the actress. She's a young, wonderful young woman. She did a very nice job. The show actually wasn't bad. Like I said, it was actually probably one of it's top 3 Marvel Disney Plus shows. You can argue if you want to put it 1, 2, 3, but I think I'm very safe in putting it in the top 3. So it was a good show. Just there wasn't interest, and so now you've put 3 characters together that don't have any interest.
Well,
why are you surprised nobody went to see it?
You're introducing characters that you know are going to be future Avengers. Okay, I get that. So let's go into a course correction here. Let's talk about what that is. I'm going to go ahead and say it. 5 years. We need a 5-year fucking break from Marvel movies. Okay?
Never going to happen. Never going to happen.
No, I know. But we need, I mean, I'll take a 3-year break at this point, but
honestly, even if they just did, because there's only one movie coming out next year because they've had to scrap all these things and start over.
Yeah.
So there's only one coming out next year, and that's Deadpool. And really, if they're smart, what they're going to do is they're going to just have a limited.
Web, is that Sony? That's
Sony. Yeah, that's yeah. Anything Spidey that's not Spidey himself, that's pure Sony.
Okay.
Which, by the way, it looks like Birds of Prey Redux, but we're not going to get into that.
I saw that. I'm like, and I just recently, not too long ago, saw that you could watch the CW's Birds of Prey show like on Tubi or something.
Yeah.
I'm like,
so
are you advertising that I should go back and watch this show from 2002, which I know is probably going to be better?
Yeah, actually, I probably. So what they really should do is probably just do, because Chad's right, they're not going to just go away. What they should probably do is just do 1 or 2 movies that are standalone movies that don't necessarily have to be connected to a larger storyline. Just do those and make those really good. And then I'm sorry, I don't care about the Young Avengers. And guess what? Nobody else does either. Yeah. Nobody cares about these characters. So you're better off just letting it go and letting it die. Yes, they're in the world somewhere, and maybe you can bring them back for a big team up movie later. But you paid $70 million to do the X-Men. Do the fucking X-Men. Because, and I'm sorry, they want to do Fantastic Four again first. Why? Fantastic Four, they've done twice, and it's been awful both times. Well, okay, one was slightly better than the other, but look,
Fantastic Four. Talk about the last one they tried to
make. Fantastic Four hasn't sold comics in 30 years. It doesn't move the rack. So you're trying to draw blood. You're trying to draw blood from a stone.
I'm pretty sure people are still more intrigued about the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie than
anything they've done. Yeah, exactly. And so it just, look, I don't understand why they're doing Fantastic Four again. And then they're insisting, and the people that do give a shit about the Fantastic Four, by the way, have been saying John Krasinski. Oh, we're going to have Wanda turn him into spaghetti in 5 minutes, and then we're never going to use him again, and we're going to go get Pedro Pascal. Okay. All right.
Look, I love
Pedro Pascal. Your fans were, yeah, but your fans are handing you money on a platter. This is what we want. If you do this, we will go see it. Yeah, that's great, but we know better. You're an idiot.
Yeah, you're an idiot.
So, I don't care about the Fantastic Four. I don't care about the Young Avengers. Everybody wants the X-Men. The X-Men are where the money is. Do the bloody X-Men and do them right.
Yeah. Look, we started in 2012. Our actual first true promo movie that we went and did trivia and all that was the first Avengers movie. And we had a fucking blast. And I'm still curious where all the high school kids
that was 11 years ago.
Yeah, that had all the makeshift costumes that put together that were sitting up top in the theater. I still got a picture of them somewhere. I'm like, I wonder where they are today. We've had such a great run over, well, not in the last few years, but leading up to Endgame.
Yeah, for 11 years, from 2008 to 2019.
You did everything Right. Even if every movie wasn't really that good, you told the origin stories, you got us interested in characters, you connected them to this overall story. Okay. And even Guardians of the Galaxy 3 being the best post Endgame movie, it really is kind of the only good one. I mean, like, I didn't hate the Doctor Strange movie. I get it. But enough with multiverse.
Well, the only reason why that movie did as well as it did is because it was a direct tie-in from Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Right.
And Spider-Man did nearly $2 billion.
Right. It's like the only one that has truly kind of worked.
Yeah.
With the multiverse. And so but getting back to South Park and the Pandaverse, it is just lazy writing.
And the only reason why Spider-Man worked with the multiverse is because that was something you could organically do because we've had these 3 versions of Spider-Man that we've gotten to know and gotten close to. So to get them on screen together actually was pretty cool, and then to get their villain
chemistry together,
and all of their villains come in and and they all had fun playing off of each other. So that really organically worked. Whereas this is just, I've written myself into a corner. So multiverse, like they're talking about they're talking about trying to bring back RDJ. There's rumors of RDJ trying to bring back RDJ and Chris Evans, and I'm like, you guys don't understand what's wrong. Like, don't bring them back. They had their proper endings.
Hey, when you run out of an idea for horror movies, Freddy versus Jason.
Jason in space.
I know, right?
Which, by the way, was actually a very funny movie. It wasn't very scary, but I did enjoy it. See, and this is the bad thing too. With these Marvel movies and Marvel shows, there's a YouTuber. Some people like him. Other people hate his guts. His name's Desparo. He's from England. But he said something that was very, very true. The biggest sin a lot of these Marvel movies and shows are making is that they're just meh.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing to get excited about. They're not, if they're really, really good, you can be excited about them. And if they're really, really bad, you can at least laugh.
Yeah.
But there's no enjoyment to be had in a movie that's a 3 to a 5.
Well, here, I'll ask this question. Let's go around the room. I'll start with you, Chad.
Mm-hmm.
Since Endgame, has there been one movie, including Sony, that you've been very excited about?
Oh, we just talked about it. The last Spider-Man film.
Yeah, me too. Everything else is like, okay.
Yeah. Put it this way. It's the only movie they've put out or TV show they've put out that I've watched a second time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them I haven't bothered to watch at all.
I haven't watched 1 second of Hawkeye. I couldn't finish Moon Knight because it was boring the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I couldn't get into Miss Marvel because of the reasons that we discussed. It just felt like it was skewing too young. It's like trying to get me to listen to a Taylor Swift album. Ain't gonna fucking happen.
So
you're not.
So what you're saying is I shouldn't get you the Taylor Swift 1989 album or version.
No, you should not. If you ever want me to fucking speak to you again, so no. But
unless it comes with a shotgun, so we can shoot it. There you go.
I bet that Prince album.
Already beat you to it. But
I know. We don't have to get you a Prince album. You already have it. Well, we get you a gift card to the music store.
There is a milky white version and a clear version of Diamonds and Pearls, but that's another story. But Spider-Man had a built-in audience. It always will. It always has had that. That's their one.
Like Batman, you can do a bad Batman movie and people will still show up in droves.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
at least once. I mean, they might not show up to a bad sequel, but
I mean, we got Keaton back this year, and look how well that turned.
But that wasn't a Batman movie; that was a Flash movie.
But that's the only reason that a lot of people, myself included,
went.
He went to go see the damn thing.
Yeah,
and they completely misused him. But that's another story.
Yeah. We've
already lamented that many times.
And see, and that's it's honestly it's almost like this is what the MCU is turning into, is that we're watching the MCU make the same mistakes that the DC made. I
think the sad thing is I think they're making all new ones. Because the DCU, their big mistake was, and you can blame Walter Hamada for this, but his thing was we have to do the Justice League right now because we have to catch up to Marvel. No, you don't.
You don't.
You should have just built your characters up like they did and waited, because guess what? Had you taken your time and built your characters up and dropped the Justice League this year, hey, how's Marvel doing right now?
Yeah.
You'd be crushing.
Yeah, you could
You'd
put them
be
over
If
your
we got that Snyder cut of Justice League this year,
and had 2 Wonder Woman movies, 2 Aquaman movies, 2 Batman movies, 2 Superman movies, then Batman versus Superman, then the Justice League this year. Had you built all that, had you had a Green Lantern movie, brought him in, a Martian Manhunter story to bring him in, yeah, I mean, they'd crush it this year if they had taken their time and done it right.
Didn't have the patience for it.
They didn't have the patience, and it blew up in their face. Now, the mistakes Marvel are making now, okay, post Endgame, is everything pre Endgame was mapped out. They had a plan and they executed it. Everything since, does it feel like Phase 4 and Phase 5 had a plan?
No, it felt like
Okay.
we need another sequel with these characters. Let's just throw in there. Oh, by the way, our new villain's going to be Kang.
Which, by the way, and I don't care if Jonathan Majors is guilty or not, in the sense of Kang as a villain going forward. Kang is dead as a villain because the first 2 times you introduced him, he was immediately defeated. Well, there's other copies of him. I know, but if the other 2 were easily defeated, and he's the same guy, there's no real threat. I mean, I'm sorry, but if Superman's going to fight me in 72 different universes, guess who's going to win 72 times? Yeah. It ain't me. Okay. So, so that's a problem. Like you've already messed up. Kang, this is how Loki season 1 should have ended. Kang the Conqueror should have found a way to break through and kill the one who remains. It should have, Sophie should have been about to do it, and then Kang the Conqueror should have come in and snapped his neck.
Yeah.
And now you set up Kang the Conqueror as the big villain, and then an Ant-Man, when they're trying, instead of just having, basically Kang was defeated by communism. They had worker ants defeat him in Quantumania. Okay, which is why a buddy of mine calls it Commie Mania. Okay, so you literally had Kang defeated by communism. So, okay, great. Now you've had Kang defeated by ants. Not even Ant-Man. Ants.
Well, you know the worst part about that too is after Ant-Man movie, we don't even care about his character in Loki season 2, and it's not even really about his character. He's an afterthought because we want to because it's really about Loki's final story.
But had Kang defeated Ant-Man and taken over the quantum realm, but then Kang the Conqueror came in and killed him and took over the quantum realm. And now you're setting up almost like a Jet Li the One kind of storyline where every version of Kang he kills off, he becomes a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
And now you're setting up the Kang the Conqueror as this really bad who's going to take the world by storm. Now you're setting him up as like a Thanos type threat because he's just one step ahead of all of the disparate Avengers, and that's why they're going to have to come back together because they can't defeat him separately.
And you give us a reason, and you give us a reason to care again.
Exactly. But
so I mean,
they don't employ me. So
the thing about, I mean, you've diminished this villain to where we don't care. So what's the only way to bring about a villain that is going to bring all the Avengers? Now you have to get Doctor Doom, which is why you have to
do the Fantastic Four. Yep.
Yeah.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah. And it's at this point, again, I just don't care. I've seen this before.
And now you are making the same mistake DC did because now you're rushing Doctor Doom in without setting him up as a proper villain. And he's going to be gone again because you want the real villain to be Avengers Secret Wars.
Look, you know what's great? And I got reminded this because I never read all the comics. There always seemed to be more anticipation with all of these comics when they were being released because they were spread out in a way to where you kept looking forward to them.
Yeah, and they bounce back. Like these storylines bounce back across different books every month. So maybe this month you had to buy the Avengers. Next month you had to buy Iron Man's book. Next month you had to buy Spider-Man's book, whatever it was. But
as much as we should be excited to see all of this on the big screen, now you're dealing with the fatigue. You're just, this is what I'm saying.
And look, we're also passionate about it. I hate this. It's superhero fatigue. No, it's bad writing fatigue. Well, people are tired of mediocre movies. People will go look. People wouldn't be online having 36,000 podcasts just like this one talking about this stuff if there wasn't passion behind it. There absolutely is, but you have to put out a good product, and the more mediocre products you put out, the more diminishing returns.
Well, I hate to say it, but I kind of miss the days where we had a 3-year period between a Star Wars movie, where that anticipation and reading about rumors and when I say reading about rumors, I'm talking about legitimate things that actually came true and not bullshit that's made up by fucking idiots like Mike Zero. And yeah, you are fucking...
But oh, Mikey Z.
Fuckwad who doesn't deserve a goddamn YouTube channel. But anyway.
He started talking about something different, and I was just like, wow, Star Wars is dead. At least Disney Star Wars is dead because Mike Zero's got... he started talking about... what's his nuts from England and his stupid actress American wife, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. He started doing Harry and Meghan Markle videos. It popped up in my YouTube feed one point, and I was like, wow, that's the sign that Star Wars is dead because this guy's doing Harry and Meghan Markle videos.
Oh, okay. Talk about shit we don't care about. So we got to get to Loki season 2, and Chad, I'm going to ask.
I'm going to shut up and let you guys take this.
Did you like it?
Loved it.
Really? Okay. All right.
Loved it.
Chad is going to be a fanboy out here.
Not a fanboy. We're just sitting here ranting and raving about where's the good writing. It was right fucking there.
See, I don't know.
I do, and this is why.
Okay, all right, go.
Why. Because you have now taken a character that was this sniveling, pain in the ass, thorn in everybody's side, and he was basically just a lackey for somebody that was bigger that came along and snapped his neck and took him out of the picture, literally. But you've now taken this guy that was somebody that you didn't even care for, and you've turned him into somebody that you genuinely are cheering,
right?
That you genuinely care about. That is character development.
No, and I agree.
Complete arc of you took a guy that was way over here, and now you've put him way over here.
No, I mean, my first thoughts from last season, this season was, oh my God, he's turned into Jaime Lannister. He's the Jaime Lannister of this universe now, and.
Or less.
I never thought Loki was absolutely bad. I think part of it is knowing that he was, because he's not really Asgardian, how he came about, and
he'll never be Thor. He'll always be,
and he'll always live in that shadow. So he is the god of mischief, and but he has to be the savior of this. I feel like it's a great final outing of Loki. It's a great way to say goodbye to the character because he does make the ultimate sacrifice. He knows what he has to do. He knows the god that he has to be to save time, essentially. And that little final shot and then the final episode of just him intertwined with all the strands and everything which I kind of got of, like a three-eyed raven vibe sort of thing. Like this is your metamorphosis. Science words are hard sometimes, children.
Especially when you've been day drinking all day, but
a little too polysyllabic for you. and just to do a little Mallrats drop there. And just kids, just so you know, we this might be airing on Saturday morning, but we recorded at night. So yeah.
The
magic of editing.
just remember that when I recorded this, I am allowed to have whiskey in this coffee. I can do it Saturday morning too, but I just don't because, Anyway.
Depends on how bad
I don't necessarily disagree with you but I felt like it also got kind of convoluted, just jumping from place to place and everything, and I got kind of lost at times. And that was really, I mean, it had the payoff that I liked. It really did. But it also made me care less and less about Kang as well by the end of this. So that I'm again not disagreeing with you that it's better writing that we have seen. But I think after all the stuff that has gone on with Marvel, by the time I got to the end of it, I didn't care as much as I feel like I probably should have. But I agree that it's a great send off for Loki.
It made me care about Loki. I didn't give a shit about Kang to begin with, and
Right.
but if we didn't really we weren't really dealing with Kang.
Yeah.
We were dealing with He Who Remains or Victor Timely.
Right.
Kang never really came into the conversation. So,
well, I mean, it's all the same people, but I mean, the way they ended the first season with him and introducing Jonathan Majors and stuff was fantastic. Like, you're like, okay, all right, I get what you're doing. You really are setting up a good villain. And then all the movies kind of screwed that up as we just
right.
Here to me is the best part. KQ Kwan. He stole he really did.
Obi. What a character.
I know. I'm so glad that he kind of, that he has come back into acting. Is like everything he is doing is great.
Mm-hmm.
He's fun, he's quirky. Just his delivery on stuff just cracks me up. The bookstore scene when he's trying to buy his own book and stuff like that. That's the one that got me. I'm like, for every legitimate. You mean I am going to write a bestseller? I am going to write a bestseller. Well, yeah, sort of.
Yeah, sort of.
And the little scene where he's taking out the new version of it, I'm like, as a writer, that cracked me up.
Then why the fuck didn't they put him in Dial of Destiny?
Oh my god, I know. It's just
put a chick in it, make it lame and gay. That's why they didn't put him in Dial of Destiny. Because the Pander Stone said not to.
Jesus.
Hot South Park. South Park strikes again and tells you the truth.
God, by the way, that meme is everywhere. Like as soon as every single thing that gets announced in it now that has a female lead character, like it's like the next 20 replies.
And here we go.
I'm telling you, it'll officially crumble once we get to female, trans, gay, African American, or something. And I'm missing one other box that you got to tick off, but it'll be along those lines.
Daddy issues?
Yeah.
Did you just assume her parental figure's gender?
Oh shit!
No. How do we define that at Disney now? I don't know, but
what the hell? Oh my god! No way!
Dude, Disney. So you know how Disney does these Disney at night parks, and they basically charge the same price to get back in for 4 hours at night, and the idea is that it's supposed to be less crowded. Well, they did it for the first time. They've always done it at like Magic Kingdom and Epcot, but they did it for the first time at the Hollywood Studios the other day, and it was an abject disaster. They had lines everywhere. You couldn't get into anything. Like people spent the majority of their 4 hours in line for something. The Star Wars Rise of the Resistance ride went down, and that does like 1,500 people per hour. So those 1,500 people went everywhere else trying to find stuff. It's just like, dude, Disney's a mess.
I'm like, who has the desire to spend all that money to go to one of their theme parks? Jesus.
And they're like, well, we're putting $600 million into the parks over the next 10 years. But if you look, like, because I just listened to their earnings call, but if you actually like look at the breakdown of where that's going to all the overseas park. That's going to like Euro Disney and China Disney and Tokyo Disney, and none of it's going to the American parks, and it's going to their cruise lines because their cruise
Well,
lines actually
nothing
make money.
says Euro Disney to Americans as I want to go to Europe and see beautiful things, but I'm going to go to a Disney World.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I know there was a really funny article this week about Kei Kwan shamelessly asking that Kathleen Kennedy to be in Star Wars, and I'm like, you honestly should, because I feel like at this point he's the only thing that can kind of rescue it. Everybody, I mean, does anybody hate him? Does anybody have one bad thing to say about anything that he's really done?
Nope.
I can let him be like a Jedi Master, in the High Republic or something. That's kind of funny, quirky, and gives you that comedy, but also giving you Jedi teachings. I think that'd be a great character, and I would totally.
So, I don't know if you guys know this character. It would be unfortunately he's dead at this point, because you actually see him in Kenobi, and he's one of the only named Jedi that you actually see in the Fortress Inquisitorius.
Right.
But Terrace Sanubi, he would make a great Terrace Sanubi. Who's an older Jedi who in the Clone Wars teaches Ahsoka patience and how if you just take a step back, that the solution often presents itself. Kind of very much like the Sean Connery to Harrison Ford in The Last Crusade.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to do a movie set before the Skywalker saga, if you want to do a young Terrace Sanubi, I think even though he would be in either some type of massive prosthetic or just voicing a CGI character, I think Ke Huy Quan would be an amazing Terrace Sanubi.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree. All right, so final question, then we're gonna move
be a
on.
better version of Donnie Yen's character from Rogue One.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, we know they're not going to do it, but getting back to my earlier question, what should be the waiting period before we ever bring back any more Marvel movies? I say at least 3 years, but I want 5. Chad?
I don't know if it's even remotely possible for them to put a complete moratorium on anything Marvel for.
Yeah, they can't.
There's no way. I mean, they're dug in too deep to where if they were to do something like that, it would blow up in their face. I mean,
there's so much spent on pre-production at this point for certain things that they have, like for the next couple of years, they have to churn these things out just to try and make something back.
Especially after the shutdown with the strike and the thing. They've got to recoup something from somewhere.
Like I said earlier, if they're smart.
We know it's not going to happen. I'm just asking theoretically, what do you think would be a good time before you should bring anything back?
I don't think you should stop it. I just think you should slow it the fuck down.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly,
increase your output and increase your quality.
100%. 100% with Chad on this one. Like if you nail Deadpool 3 next year, right? You have until 2024 to do anything else. You can film in the next 18 months, between now and May 2024. You can write, film, and put out a quality film. So I have full confidence in Ryan Reynolds that if they just leave Ryan Reynolds the fuck alone and let him do his thing with Deadpool with Hugh Jackman, that it's going to be an entertaining movie. So don't Kevin Feige it up. Just Kevin, back the hell off. Let Ryan and Hugh do their things. Okay. And then put out a really good movie or two, preferably just one in 2024, then another good one in 2025. And then, hey, let's dive right into the X-Men and spend the next 3 years planning out the X-Men really, really well. And then you can do 2 movies a year, introducing X-Men, introducing Xavier, introducing Magneto, getting all these characters back together, slowly building them up, just like you did with the Avengers, until you finally have your X-Men versus Brotherhood of Mutants fight, or your X-Men versus the Sentinels fight, whichever you want to do. They'll both be great. Just take your time, put it together, and give the fans what they want. Remember, you are in the business to make money. And how do you make money? You give your consumers what they want. It is not about you, like Nia DaCosta saying at the Marvels, I made the movie I wanted to see as a teenager. That's not why
If
you do
you
franchise movies.
Right.
I personally, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that's a good plan. The only reason I say stop is I think we just need breathing room and whatnot. But if you reduce it to one, maybe two a year, see that, and that's the thing. Between all of your properties at Disney, let's say that you released a Marvel movie or like a Star Wars movie or something else that you had. If you released like one a quarter out of everything, that's four big movies between two different properties that doesn't feel like it's fatigue because it's different universes and stuff.
Well, to your point, they could release one Star Wars, one Marvel, one Pixar, and one Walt Disney Studios film every year. That's one a quarter.
Yeah. And that would be fine. And
all you need. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I will say this about Disney. I thought it was kind of cool that the Eighth Doctor, they are going to actually do a series with him. I thought, we never got to enjoy that. And yes, that American made-for-TV movie that came out in 1996 is kind of terrible. But him playing kind of a darker version of whatever they were trying to do back then, they've had flashback scenes throughout the Doctor. I'm like, you know what? That's a good thing that takes us away from all of the other crap. And there's a huge fan base, especially as we're celebrating.
Just write it well. All you've got to do is write it well. Because
it's funny that we keep saying write it well, that we have to remind them it should be an afterthought.
Yeah.
But here we are in this day and age.
It's like, and if you want to know what you should do, look at the run from Eccleston to Smith and ignore everything from Capaldi forward. And I'm not knocking the actors. I just they couldn't write for Capaldi. They gave him terrible shit to work with.
They gave him one good season. I will say that. Not the last one, because Bill was a terrible companion, but the female one. God, why am I drawing a blank?
I think Jenna Coleman was a great companion and a great actress, and I think she's a lovely young woman. I just think the writing for her was awful. I couldn't get into it. Like I haven't.
The best.
I haven't watched a Doctor Who episode since halfway through that season.
The best season with the female Doctor was really that last one, that little 6-episode thing that was all one story. It was like a limited series, and it worked because they were kind of all over the place. Like the episodes that Chinnenball would try to write were terrible, but the other writing staff, when they wrote an episode, turned out to be better ones, type thing. Chad, you're sitting back. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you went.
Anyway,
you were pulling a flash and phasing through the wall on us.
But Doctor Who is, and that's another reason I say that you have to have a good waiting period before you bring something back, because you had 15 years before you brought Doctor Who back, and it worked.
I think in a perfect world, if you waited 3 years, that would be sufficient, because especially, 15 years back then, I get what you're saying. Even, the 10 years between the prequel trilogy and the sequel trilogy, obviously that whetted people's appetites because Force Awakens made $2 billion. But we live in a super short attention span theater at this point.
Right.
I mean, you wait 3 years, you might as well have waited a decade.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I know.
If in a perfect world, yes, Marcus, 3 years, I think that would be enough. Especially if you spent that 3 years really kicking out some excellent scripts and doing a long-term plan for the next 10 to 15 years, like they did with phases 1, 2, and 3.
Right. And it sounds good to us because that's what we were weaned on.
Right.
That's what we were raised on. But like Brendan said, in this day and age, that wouldn't fly.
You know, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of good fantasy out there that, I mean, I'm glad Amazon is doing the Wheel of Time stuff because it's turning out, whether you're a fan of the series, that's actually turning out to be better than what we've gotten. I mean, they screwed up The Witcher. We're not even going to get into the train wreck of Rings of Power and completely ignoring all the lore.
The wrongs of Prime.
Right. But anyway, all right. We didn't do this earlier, so we're going to do a quick little editorial question. Julie Jones and I had a chance to interview one of our favorite people. We're huge fans of his, Neil deGrasse Tyson, a couple weeks ago for a documentary titled A Shot in the Arm. A really good documentary that's out on digital right now. It is about the power of vaccines and the rise of the anti-vax movement, or all the morons who don't believe in science, as we like to call it. I wish we had had more time with Neil deGrasse Tyson. He joked around with us that, because he was the executive producer and the script consultant, that was harder than being an astrophysicist. But we were able to sneak in a Star Trek question. Julie and I kind of had a bet on who he would pick as his favorite captain. So that was our last question. I'm going to take a quick moment, let you watch the little video we made, and we'll come right back.
I just want to throw one more nerdy question out there because we have some money riding on this. Neil,
oh, we do. All right.
Who's your favorite captain, Star Trek captain?
Oh, geez.
Oh no, it's definitely. I mean, there's several, of course. I'm glad they finally had a female captain with Janeway, but I would have to go back to Captain Kirk, the original, because
I lost that one. My money was on Jean-Luc Picard.
Oh no! I'll tell you why. Because I'm a practical guy. Okay, we all love Jean-Luc Picard. Okay, so that's not the issue here. It's that Captain Kirk did his own fighting. Okay, I don't know how many fights Jean-Luc Picard was in. I think that the answer is 0. Did his own fighting. And if there's a captain of my ship and I see the captain fighting, I'm going to get out there and fight the aliens too.
All right.
Okay, that's my first answer. Second, he would make decisions which on the surface seemed irrational, but were in fact seat of the pants intuition of how to solve a problem.
Right.
And my favorite moment of that is there's some Klingon vessel out front and their defenses are down and they're ready to be destroyed. And Kirk says, let's engage Executive Order 3220, whatever, which doesn't exist. All right.
Right.
And he tells them that it's an order that any starship that's under threat will go into a self-destruct that will destroy everything in its area, including this Klingon ship that's facing them. And they turn off the comms, and Spock says, Captain, this is no time for a game of chess. And he said, and Kirk says, Spock, this isn't chess. This is poker. I'm like, yes, holy, oh my gosh.
All right.
Can I give me some Captain Kirk on this, please?
Yeah. All right. You sold me on that. Okay. I got to tell you, while Kirk is not my favorite captain, I got to go with his argument on this. He makes a legitimate argument about why Kirk is the best captain. I don't know. Like I said, we had a fun time. I don't know whether you guys agree or anything, but his answer is one of the best answers we ever got on the best Star Trek captain. So I'm going to go around, start with you, Chad. Do you agree with Neil deGrasse Tyson, or?
Probably not the best person to ask.
Not the Trekkie person.
No.
Okay. All right. Brendan, how about you?
I'll agree that he is the quintessential Star Trek captain. He's not my favorite Star Trek captain. And my favorite Star Trek captain will probably surprise a lot of people. My favorite Star Trek captain is Sisko.
I actually
yeah.
going to say
Sisko's. I mean, first of all, I grew up watching Spencer for Hire with my mom, so Hawk was just. I had no idea. Like, first of all, I grew up in a very sheltered, very middle class, very white neighborhood. So I knew two black people who were in my school. One who was Annie, who was in my grade, and her older brother Tim, who was a year older than us. That's it. So up stands this guy who's got the bald head, the sunglasses, the nice suit, the 44. Dude, he was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my 8 years on this planet.
Right.
So I'm just sitting there. I'm like, wow, Hawk's a badass. I didn't even know the term badass. I was 8 years old. So I just thought he was cool as hell. And so then fast forward 10 years later, and he's a Star Trek captain, and I'm seeing him on DS9 when I came home. And I liked DS9. So growing up, I liked Star Trek and loved Star Wars. I didn't really get a really big appreciation for Star Trek until I married Aaron. Aaron's a huge Trekkie, loves Star Trek.
Right.
So I've watched a lot more Star Trek since I married Aaron, or since I started dating Aaron, and now we've been together 14 years, married for 12. But the episode, I believe it's season 5. It's Into the Pale Moonlight, where he talks about bringing the Romulans into the Dominion War and how he lied, cheat, stealed, and conveyed murder, condoned murder in order to bring the Romulans into the war. That might be the best acted episode, best acted, written, directed episode of Star Trek ever.
Yeah.
If you've not seen it, it's amazing. And the ending, I won't spoil it for you, but the ending is just him, and it's chilling. And that's why he's my favorite, because it can be just him on the screen and he can command your attention.
Well, he's a great actor. I mean, other than Star Trek, like I loved him as the principal in American History X. Mm-hmm. And the scene where he brings the books to Edward Norton in prison, and Edward Norton is starting to turn away from his neo-Nazi ways. Like I said, just absolute.
He's a weird cat in real life, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. He's a music professor, and I do believe that man sees the music when he plays it. That's just the way he is. He's got a very different way about him when you talk to him personally.
Yeah,
but he's a very cool guy, very nice guy, and just absolutely. I'm saddened he has chosen not to act for the last 20 years.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it was a great pleasure to get to interview him. I wish that we had more time with Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's like somebody that you could spend hours talking about just various things with, and never be bored. So, but anyway, Jean-Luc Picard will always be my favorite, followed by Jonathan Archer, because I'm a huge fan of Enterprise. But
I will agree that Enterprise gets a lot more hate than it deserves, and I think it's a very underrated show.
Yeah. But then again, like I said, I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson and his argument in that video, it's like...
Although, I would like to ask Brandon Braga one thing. Dude, did you have to constantly slather gel all over to Paul? I mean... Look, I get it. She is a stunningly beautiful woman.
Jesus.
But it's Star Trek, not Skinamax.
Yeah, I know. It's like, come on. I've seen so many videos where you just change out the music to porn music. It's like, come on. I don't need this right now. I got to get some sleep. All right, I'll be back in 15 minutes. So anyway. Let us know your thoughts, whether you agree with Dr. Tyson or not. But we just wanted to throw that in there because it was really funny how he answered the question. Okay, last thing that we're going to close out, reviews and everything before Chad falls asleep. Anyway, Brendan, give us a good beer review.
So in the spirit of the fact that we brought up Jaws earlier, if you're drinking alcoholic beer, the beer that was featured in Jaws, Narragansett, is back. It's been back for about 10, 15 years now. They still brew it in Rhode Island. And for a very long time, it's their marketing campaign was right from the movie. The marketing campaign was "Crush It Like Quint." So go ahead, and if you're drinking alcoholic beer, grab yourself a Gansett. Crush it like Quint. If you're drinking non-alcoholic beer, I tell you what, we'll do one I just picked up the other day. I got it at the Bearded Monk in Denton, Texas. They do a great job for both alcoholic and non-alcoholic beers. If you ever want to check them out, tell Ben or Riley or whoever's there that I sent you. But I'll see if I can get this in front of my face so you can see it. It's a very nondescript can, but it's Visitor FYI. It is a lightly hopped pale lager. It is very nice. It's just a kiss of hops to it, so it's not super hoppy like an IPA. If you don't like bitterness, if you don't like a lot of hop flavor, it's crisp. It's easy to drink. And it's not overly expensive. It was $10.99 for a 4-pack, which I mean it's a little pricey, but it's not too bad. But it goes down pretty easy. So those are my 2 recommendations for alcoholic and non-alcoholic this week.
All right, great. Well, everybody, we'll be back after the holidays as we get into December, and then I can actually finally start to talk about some other movies that are still under an embargo as of this show. So there's a lot of great little holiday movies coming out as we're getting into the year or finishing out this year. And I got to also be honest, I just don't care about the Aquaman movie. Love Jason Momoa, just don't care.
Yeah, don't care. I do want to see Joel Kinnaman's like Christmas revenge movie though.
You're right. True.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to see that yet. I believe it's out already. I just haven't had a chance to go see it.
All right, we're going to close this out. It is time to say goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Take care, guys.
All right. So, Chad, this one is for you. I was reading a list and I thought this was hilarious. I can't find the link.